impact anyone at this time. We'll keep you up to date. All right, Lawrence, over to you.
We always have our back. Thanks, JD.
You got it.
So California Governor Gavin Newsom declaring, quote, "The freedoms we hold dear in California are under attack, and we won't sit idle." He's calling for a special legislative session to safeguard liberal California policies. The state's attorney general also warned of a second Trump term.
You can be sure that as California Attorney General, if Trump attacks your rights, I'll be there. If Trump comes after your freedoms, I'll be there. If Trump jeopardizes your safety and your well-being, I'll be there.
Fox News contributor and civil rights attorney Leo Terrell joins us now. So Leo, you got violent criminals all over the state. Attacking people, stealing people's personal property, because they passed a law that said you can steal under $1,000 without the police showing up to the scene. I never remember the Attorney General banging on the table saying he's going to be there for them.
Lawrence, did you hear what he said? He said nothing, just word salad. Yeah. And what you have is Governor Newsom, who is a lame duck governor, trying to become relevant. It's a lame duck idea. They're going to have a legislative session in December to stop President Trump. Trump doesn't take office until January. And here's the point that's amazing. They can't stop Trump from removing illegal immigrants out of California. They cannot stop ICE from arresting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes. They can't do any of that. They're just talking. They're trying to remain relevant. And one point, Prop 36, a bill to increase penalties for shoplifting, passed by 70%. Gavin Newsom was opposed to that bill. These Democrats are in denial, Lawrence. They don't listen to the average American voter. Trump does, they don't.
Well, it's also a little delusion. Let's just pop up this map of California. I've never seen California with so much red. And you just compare it to 2020, you would think there would be some self-reflection and say, hey, maybe we need to change some things, or we may flip it to being a Republican state.
I'll tell you what the problem is. The Democrats don't want to tell the truth. Donald Trump's message resonates with the average voter. That graphic earlier today on the show proves it all. Democrats is the party of the elite, the rich. Most working class Americans support the Trump policies. And what you saw on that map, Lawrence, was California, a deep, deep blue state, becoming a purple state because of one person, Donald J. Trump. That map is a wake-up call for Democrats. But the problem is they're asleep. They're in denial.
Yeah, they're too busy calling everything racist and misogynist. Every single group of people increase their turnout when it comes to Donald Trump. I think at some point you have to say, look, our policies are failing people, and if you want them back, maybe respond to those issues. Leo, thanks so much for getting up this morning.
My pleasure. Anytime for you.
You got it, brother. So Dr. Mark Siegel is live in my home state of Texas for the Warrior Bike Ride for America's Veterans. He's next.
Hi, Grandma. I played baseball today.
Warrior 100K bike ride. Last year, the former president told Dr. Mark Siegel how important cycling is to some of these vets.
When you ride mountain bikes on trails like we did today, you can't help but feel wonderful about nature and feel fortunate. Over time, I'm confident there's been a vet that has said, I don't know if I can ever get out of the darkness I feel. And somebody on the bike says, yeah, I did, you can. My dream, of course, is every vet that is living in darkness can figure out how to come and live in the light.
Dr. Mark Siegel is live from Crawford, Texas, where that ride will take place later this morning. And he is joined by retired U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Spencer Milo. Good morning.
Good morning, Ainsley. We're here in Crawford, Texas, outside of the Prairie Chapel Ranch. You see the Prairie Chapel School in the background, which has been here since the 1880s. Everybody's very excited today. I'll tell you one reason. The weather's great. It's in the 70s. The trails, which were devastated by tornadoes and storms, in the spring have been rebuilt thanks to this tremendous crew here that works with President Bush. So everybody's really looking forward to it. And it's Team 43. They come together. They actually network outside of this ride. This ride is a launch point for the vets. They ride in formation. If somebody falls, they pick them back up. You just heard the former president talk about coming out of the darkness and into the light. That's a key part of this. And I'm joined now today by former Staff Sergeant, retired Staff Sergeant Spencer Milo. You wouldn't believe the story of Spencer Milo here, who in 2007 was a gunner on a truck and was escaping combat fire, and he ended up with a head injury and post-traumatic stress. Then they told him he had cancer, which he didn't have. And then he went to Afghanistan next, and in Afghanistan, a suicide bomber blew up and literally had another severe traumatic brain injury. What has all that been like, Spencer, and how have you recovered?
It's been quite the ride, that's for sure. A lot of dark times, but followed with a lot of light. Tried to do everything I could to stay in the fight. Eventually realized that wasn't going to be the path for me, and I'm moving forward now. I just want to help other people figure it out.
You mentioned to me that the post-traumatic stress brought you to a low, and then when you got hit with the second traumatic brain injury, so what was your path to recovery? And I got to say, you're incredible how you've helped other vets with brain injuries. You know, right now you're working for the Green Berets as a chief strategy officer. How's that path helped you, bring you back to courage?
It's really helped. I think having my own story and being able to empathize with that is important. The post-traumatic stress was tough. That's something that I think so many of us have dealt with. In the beginning, I tried to kind of hide it, and then eventually I realized it wasn't a weakness. It was a strength to be able to talk about it. So talked about that, and now I'm trying to talk about it any chance I get to help people out.
What was it like to have the former president paint you? Did he get the painting right in 2017 in his book Portraits of Courage? Did he get you right?
I like to say that he took some liberties. He made me definitely look a little bit better on the canvas than in real life. So I'm grateful for that. It was an incredibly surreal and humbling experience.
Did he show the suffering that you've been through in the recovery? Did he show that in the painting?
Well, I had some blue hair in it, and so I think it definitely highlighted some of the struggles and the challenges for sure. I think he covered it pretty well in the eyes. I think the eyes kind of tell a story.
He's great absolutely with that. What's it like with Team 43? What's this network like? What's it like with the same people, networking them, reaching out to others? Talk to me about it.
Team 43 is a group of absolute leaders and influencers in this world. I mean, it's some of the most brave and important men and women I've ever been a part of, and I've ever gotten to know. The stories are incredibly diverse, just as much as the people and their struggles.
Yesterday.
Do it. You weren't supposed to call for it.
Don't trip, Brian.
Well, but I guess something happened to Carly. I get to do sports for this moment. Starting with Thursday Night Football, the Ravens were playing football. Tackle. Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, pulling off a thrilling AFC North victory over the Bengals. Again, the two teams trading lead in the fourth quarter. If you could just point that monitor towards me, I'd be more accurate. Here it is, the final seconds.
To the right side. Looks that way. Throws that way. Caught! Left side. To the right side he goes.
Yep, the Bengals failing on the two-point conversion. Took some guts to go for that. They could have kicked the extra point. Ravens win 35-34. But it was still a standout night for Bengals wideout Jamar Chase, who scored 3 touchdowns. Watch this at the end. Don't love that. Chase was asked if playing on Thursday night felt like cramming for a test. He says, I didn't really study in school. All right, kids, take note. Hey, the Los Angeles Lakers are signing rookie Bronny James to the G League in the South Bay. Not a big surprise. ESPN's reporting that LeBron James' son will make his debut against Salt Lake City. The guy needs minutes. He can't sit on the bench. Last month, Lakers head coach J.J. Redick said it has always been the plan for Bronny to split time between the Lakers and South Bay. And finally, Basketball Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal will be honored tomorrow by the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville for his work supporting underserved youth. He's unbelievable, especially in Newark. Shaq says he draws inspiration from the late boxing legend's generous spirit.
What I've always known and understood about the great Muhammad Ali is how kind and compassionate he was towards people. Especially when he fought, he told you the outcome. And, I always tried to copy that.
Yep, O'Neal has raised millions of dollars for charity, national spokesperson for the Boys and Girls Club of America. He also founded the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation, which helps kids achieve their full potential. And
fine. Okay, you did a good job. If you're going to do sports, I'm going to stand uncomfortably close to you
All right,
while
fine.
you're doing them.
how about you can read the teas?
Okay, are you sure? Let's read it together.
It'll save our friendship.
Can we read it together? Okay. PGA Pro golfer John Daly joins Fox and Friends on a Friday.
Believer. I believe that's on the rundown.
Where are you headed?
Where am I headed? Am I just going to take what the market gives me? No, I can do some research.
That's backed by JP Morgan's leading strategists, like us.
When you want to invest with more confidence, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management. Not to be dramatic, but I will.
All right, it's 7 a.m. on the East Coast. It is Friday, November 8th, and this is Fox and Friends. I just got that. President-elect Trump making history again. Susie Wiles will be the first woman to ever serve as White House Chief of Staff.
Plus, liberal Ivy Leaguers having a meltdown in a counseling class over Trump's win. But it's not surprising when this is what they have to listen to all day long.
Stop talking to men. Divorce your husbands.
I'm tired, and I'm done.
And it's a Fox News alert. Israel evacuating its citizens after violent mob attacks at a soccer game in Amsterdam. We have a live report there. The second hour of, or on that, I should say, the second hour of Fox and Friends starts right now. The Biden administration is being called out for its sudden shift in rhetoric following President-elect Trump's historic win.
Peter Ducey noticed it. He's live from the White House. Peter.
Good morning. White House officials are accepting the results of the election, but they are not yet accepting the possibility that maybe some of their rhetoric over the last couple of weeks was a little overheated.
We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay. But we need to stay engaged.
Is the message to people who are fearful based on what the messaging was about the state?
Well, now you're just twisting everything around, and that's really unfair. No, it is. No, Jackie, it's unfair because I've been standing here trying to be very respectful to what happened the last two nights ago.
So there you heard, and here's Michael Bloomberg, the billionaire. He says now it probably wasn't great to cover up President Joe Biden's infirmities until they became undeniable on live TV. And in the first bite there, from President Biden's remarks in the Rose Garden, at no point did he say that he was pleased with the way that things turned out. But before and after he was talking about this race that he was squeezed out of, his big smile kind of said a lot. Back to you.
He is a genuine threat to our democracy. And that's not hyperbole. That is God's truth.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms.
He's a genuine danger to American security.
Our fundamental freedoms are on the ballot. And so is our democracy.
And we played those out of order, but you can see there that they have gone from saying, if Donald Trump won, that America was in danger, to, we will help him take over. This is just the way that things go. We'll get him next time. Back to you.
Right. Peter, have people read into why Jill Biden, the First Lady, was wearing a red dress to vote? Was that the only thing she had clean? Or, was it one of those things where it was, should we read into that?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the choice of color or that she had a big smile walking out of the polling place. I don't know what to read into that. She has not said. She did campaign for Kamala Harris. So we'll put that out there. I don't know about her wardrobe, but I think they have a dry cleaner here.
They do.
So maybe we can go and ask. We can check the pockets just to see which sample ballot they gave her there in Wilmington.
All right. We'll see if she talked to our Fox News voter analysis people.
Right.
All right. Thanks so much, Peter.
He made great points, though. All the rhetoric was so hateful and how dangerous they are for America. And then yesterday he's like, we're going to be okay. Everything's fine. We're fine.
The good news is it's not 2017 anymore. It's 2016 anymore. I think the American people understand who Donald Trump is and isn't.
Yeah.
And you can't be spun. You can't be spun. You can't say January 6th every single day.
I do find it very awkward that you have grown adults that need therapy over the election.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's just nonsense. Canceling class. I mean, are you serious? We just endured 4 years of a candidate that I didn't particularly like, but I didn't need therapy for it. You just deal with it, accept the verdict of the country. You try to support the president where you can support him, and you move on.
Right. I mean, my goodness. That's why I think people like Donald Trump. He was shot and stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. He is strong. And then when you watch some of these images on social media, we have a few of them. Listen to this.
Stop talking to men. Divorce your husbands. Leave your boyfriends. Leave them. They don't give a about you. And I promise you, come over to this side. I will bake cookies. I will shave your head.
I know you're looking for what do we do? How do we fight? I don't know. I don't know what to do. But I'm tired and I'm done. This country is done. It's gone, it's lost, and it's lost forever.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. We cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism.
This is the problem. If the Democratic Party continues to cater to those type of people, they're going to keep losing. I mean, just the reaction shows you these are the same people that want the wokeness, that wanted the border to be open, that wants the trans ideology stuff to be in the classroom with children. You have to reject this side of your party if you want to start winning average day people.
Especially she is an average person. She was a bartender.
Yes.
She should understand working class. They got to ask themselves how I lost the working class in America, how I lost the people that actually work for tips. Why are you not responding to them? Why are you keeping Amazon out of Long Island City in New York City? Why are you doing that? So it's not only AOC that is the problem. What about some of these Ivy League schools? They realize there's some trauma on campus, and they've reacted, Ainsley.
Yeah, the first one, listen to this. This is an example of what a professor sent to students at Columbia. I have decided to cancel our class today. I had planned an alternative lecture on modern polling methods and their blind spots. It feels a bit tone deaf to deliver it today. Be good to yourselves and check in on your friends. And apparently some of the Jewish students at Columbia are upset because they said, why didn't you cancel class when we were being yelled at, 100%. When we were being scared for our lives? And they're saying you're canceling class because some people feel like that Trump should not be the president. Meanwhile, we couldn't even go on campus, and you didn't cancel classes.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's some of the gains in New York City for the president. He got 30% of the vote, gained in every borough, especially the Bronx, because they looked at these anti-Semitic, anti-American protests, and they said, really? I used to vote a Democrat. I'm going to flip. I think the president added like 8 points to the New York Jewish vote.
We got to stop paying for these schools. If you're a parent out there, you can't be sending your kids. I understand that they're supposed to be prestigious, but look at what they're teaching this kid. This is a Harvard professor as well. As we recover from the eventful election night, this is crazy. Is this a disease or something? And process the implications of Trump's victory. Please know that class will proceed as usual today, except the classroom quizzes will not be for credit. Feel free to take some time off as needed. I mean,
You're breeding a bunch of weak people. I mean, this isn't after 9/11. This is after an election, which was overwhelming. You can't be like, well, I was a nail biter to the end. Princeton University. Princeton was my hope. This was in the Princetonian. We have been hearing about lots of anxiety from students about the election and felt like listening circles, oh my goodness. Listening circles can be a helpful way to allow students to process and get support from one another.
This is a weird group of people, and they call us weird. I mean, I just don't understand. A party, a movement, a group of professors, that entire theme of their campaign was democracy, saving democracy. And we had a democratic process with a landslide. I mean, it wasn't even close. We're talking about your blue wall that you guys, and a clean sweep, and you don't respect the will of the people?
Well, Ari Fleischer, when you interviewed him this morning, he made a good point. It's fascinating. He said, when you look at who voted for Kamala Harris, the numbers are interesting. It's flipped. Wealthy people, he said.
Over 100,000.
Educated, college educated. And he said, people without religion.
Yeah, the support for Latino vote went up 41%, people under 50,000. The president dominated for people under 50,000. So that's why when Mayor Pete was on a few days ago and he said the president's going to go in there if Trump wins and give more tax cuts to his billionaire friends, what are you talking about? The people that benefited most was middle class, but every bracket benefited. And if you go to his rallies, there's nobody rich there. These are working class people. So at least unless they think America has got 70 million of the dumbest people ever, this is what they're saying. But there are people like David Axelrod, I think, that are going to do some legitimate evaluation. David Plouffe, legitimate evaluation. I think that these people are totally detached and are questioning whether they should stay in America.
And they don't know what middle America's like. Yeah. I mean, middle America does have religion. Middle America likes God. They like to take their children to church on Sundays because it teaches you right from wrong.
You know, to Brian's point about all the talking points that was put out there before the election, I hope it gives us some type of comfort, because I was worried, honestly, in some forms of way. The mainstream media they were so aggressive with the celebrities. And I mean, it seemed like, Ainsley, you would go every day through the lies that were told about the former president, national abortion bans, and I mean, just not Project whatever, 2025, just over and over and over. But the American people, they are smarter. And they rejected all the talking points that were put out there.
You make a good point, because think about all the channels, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all pro-Kamala. All of those channels, they had an opportunity. Those were free advertisements for her. And she still lost. Yeah. The American people are smart.
They're smarter.
And they know they're better off under Donald Trump. And they knew putting her back in was not going to change anything. She already had an opportunity.
The funniest thing was watching ABC when Wisconsin and Michigan were going the other way. They kept the guy on the board forever. You go, check Milwaukee again. Check Grand Rapids. Wait a second. He's like, I told you. Give us some hope. Hey, ballot problems. Anybody got a hanging chat that we could just focus on for a second? The poor guy was sweating. He's like, I got nothing. This is the votes. So, which is crazy.
Yeah. I'm still on my joy train. I have joy for the American people. I spent a whole week at the DNC with false joy and people talking about that the country is so well and the economy is so well. I'm so glad that we got a reality check right now, some vindication.
And you wonder who's more joyful, Joy Reid or Joy Behar.
You're right.
If we can write at friends@foxnews.com.
Sean calls her joyless.
Yeah, I think he's 100% right.
Definitely joyless now.
You watch that show a lot.
His show or her show?
No,
his show, definitely. Every night. All right, President-elect Donald Trump has made his first major administration decision, naming his campaign manager, Susie Wiles, as the next White House chief of staff. And this makes her the first woman ever to hold that prestigious position.
Brooke Sigmund has the story on that. Hey, Brooke.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yes, so Susie Wiles has a long history of leading Republicans to victory. She's a longtime Florida-based Republican strategist who ran President Trump's campaign in Florida in 2016 and 2020. And she served as a senior advisor and campaign co-chair in 2024. She also played a key role in helping Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis win their gubernatorial races in Florida. She began her career in 1979 as an assistant for Congressman Jack Kemp before joining Ronald Reagan's presidential campaign a year later. Despite her huge role in the GOP, she is rarely seen in the media. Trump and others have called her the Ice Maiden because of her powerful yet unknown role in the party. And a fun fact, guys, guys. She is also the daughter of legendary NFL broadcaster Pat Summerall. Many names continue being floated as to who will join Trump's cabinet now, including Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
He had really good people working with him the first time, and he's got really good people working on it now. And when he focuses in on it, as I imagine he's starting to do, we're going to start getting those decisions, and I'm going to be working with them one way or the other.
Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin says he spoke with President-elect Donald Trump about joining the upcoming administration, but he says he is committed to serving his full term as governor. Guys.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thanks, Brooke.
Well,
Brooke, sorry, we were listening partially.
But here's what I say: just as you fill out the roster, I think Rubio is going to be a strong Secretary of State. But I think Doug Burgum, I think people are going to be surprised. He's going to be on with us a little bit later. Well, I think they're even in a more expanded role than you would think. I mean, he was a finalist to be the VP, Rubio a finalist to VP, and then they stayed loyal and kept campaigning.
Well, one could be Secretary of State, one could be what?
I mean, energy is certainly something that he'd do easily because he's North Dakota. But commerce and energy together. Also, I noticed he's been traveling the globe a lot. So I'm wondering, ambassador somewhere, or
a UN ambassador.
UN ambassador, which the president with Nikki Haley made a cabinet position. He would do in policy in New York.
I almost think that the former, it's very superstitious. So there was no handouts of who's going to be who before the election that actually happened. But the campaign trail was almost used as an audition. For people for cabinet posts. Right. And you saw all these different people. A power. Talk about having a bench. The Republican Party does have a bench. And you see all these people that were on the short list to be the vice president. I guarantee you're going to see a lot of them in the cabinet.
Vivek never talks badly about him. Vivek was such a champion. Tulsi. I wonder if Elise Stefanik would join the cabinet.
I think that she's destined for bigger things in the UN. I think would be it. And the thing to worry about is that period of time when you have the special election. So if you only have 4 votes, and that period of time when Mike Waltz is named, and the way Schumer was dragging this out last time, sometimes you can, for example, Darrell Issa never got a vote. Do you know he was trade representative? He pulls himself, he goes, he after a year and a half, he went back to work. So that's what happens. You have to hand off your job, you do your background check, and then you wait. And I'm just wondering if there's a deal that can be cut early with Schumer to say, listen, can we do this quick? Yes or no? Can we do this quick? Because it hurts the country. And we got a situation in the Middle East and in Europe that cannot have a gap.
At least you have a simple majority now because they changed the rules. And it's going to benefit the Republicans in this process right now. And they're getting more and more seats. I think it's 53 seats now within the Senate right now. So that's huge.
And good for Susie Wiles. She'll be the most powerful woman in Washington.
The most anti-woman candidate, we were told, is now
making
someone as the chief of staff. You've had 2 women that ran both of his successful campaigns as well.
Youngkin out, Cotton out, and Kevin McCarthy out. They go, thank you, but don't make me an offer. I'm not going to do it.
All right, Republicans expanding their Senate majority after Senator-elect Dave McCormick's huge win. The race was called yesterday. Huge win in Pennsylvania, but control of the House is still up in the air.
To a degree. Madeline Rivera is live in Washington. Maddie.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Hi. There are still 2 Senate races that need to be called in Arizona and Nevada. In these contests, Democrats Ruben Gallego and Jackie Rosen are slightly ahead of their Republican challengers, respectively. Still, now that they've secured a majority next year, Senate Republicans are already looking to their first big order of business, picking a leader. Senators John Thune, John Cornyn, and Rick Scott are all vying to replace Mitch McConnell. Thune is seen as the front runner, and he's asking President-elect Trump not to publicly weigh in on the ballot elections, which are done in secret. Scott, meantime, says he does want Trump to back him. Meantime, as Democrats play the blame game, here's Dave McCormick explaining why he defeated longtime Democratic incumbent Senator Bob Casey in Pennsylvania.
I think what made the difference is people want change. I think they represented that desire for change by electing President Trump. I think the same with me. They're deeply distressed by the skyrocketing prices, the wide open border, the crime in our cities, the war on fossil fuels, and they want change and common sense leadership.
Turning now to the House, control of the lower chamber is still up in the air, but Republicans and Democrats are projecting optimism. Speaker Mike Johnson is already asking Republican House members to re-elect him. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, for his part, is holding out hope they can eke out a win, saying they're waiting for results in Oregon, Arizona, and California. Here's the current balance of power: 211 Republicans to 199 Democrats, with more than 24 races still on call. Again, the magic number is 218. Lawrence, Ainsley, and Brian.
All right. Thanks so much, Maddie. Meanwhile, hopefully we'll get it this weekend. General Jack Keane highlights 3 things we can expect to change on the world stage now that President-elect Trump has been elected.
Everyone's forgotten who runs this valley.
On every angle.
Here's where the big stories are moving.
Don't miss The Story with Martha McCallum, weekdays on Fox News Channel. Force Factor total.
Fox News alert: Israel is sending rescue planes to Amsterdam after Israeli soccer fans were attacked by suspected anti-Israeli protesters after a match. So far, over 60 people have been arrested. Disgraceful. Matt Finn is live in Ben Gurion International Airport outside Tel Aviv. Matt.
Brian, El Al, which is Israel's national airline, has added multiple emergency flights to the Netherlands throughout the day today to pick up Israelis who are still in the Amsterdam area after this violent attack in the early morning hours. It is being described by the King of Netherlands as an anti-Semitic crime. Now, the Amsterdam police chief just said moments ago 5 people were injured and treated in the hospital, 20 to 30 minor injuries. The violent riot happened after Israel's largest soccer team, Maccabi Tel Aviv, played against Amsterdam Ajax. Amsterdam won 5-0. After the game, footage shows Israeli fans being kicked and stomped on the ground, running, even jumping into Amsterdam's famous canals to escape. One Israeli soccer fan says a cab driver offered him a safe ride on the way back to his hotel.
We went to a lot of and we saw a lot of demonstrations, a lot of people running. It was really terrifying.
Now, there are reports that Israeli fans were chanting anti-Arab slurs and ripping down Palestinian flags. The Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs writes it strongly condemns the anti-Arab slogans and hostile actions carried out by supporters of an Israeli football club in Amsterdam. Now, we expect a regularly scheduled flight with Israelis from Amsterdam to arrive here in the next couple of hours. We hope to talk to people who experienced this, and we'll bring you updates throughout the day. Brian.
Incredible, Matt. Thanks so much. Didn't see that coming. 25 minutes now after the hour. Hamas swiftly calling for an end to the war with Israel following Trump's victory, saying, quote, Palestinians look forward to an immediate cessation of the aggression against our people, especially in Gaza. What can we expect to change on the world stage under a Trump presidency? Retired 4-star general, Fox News strategic analyst, chairman of the Institute of Study of War, General Jack Keane, joins us now. General, first off, what's your interpretation of that statement from the Palestinians, from Hamas?
I don't take it seriously. I mean, we've been down this road before. Hamas's position has been pretty steady. You know, since the last hostage release last year, their position has been hard, fast, that they'll only deal with complete Israeli withdrawal and cessation of all military activities. That has been their position. I'm assuming that's the direction they're heading, and this is more a fig leaf than anything else.
All right, so let's talk about what could change under a Trump administration. After all, we had 4 years of a test run. What could change right away, for example, over the next 4 years? Number one, you've always come on and talked about how discouraging it was to see the defense budget not keep up with inflation.
Well, the first thing is the Trump administration, what they'll be dealing with that they didn't deal with in their first administration was China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea working together, colluding, cooperating, and coordinating together. And not only that, but they become so aggressive and so assertive because they believe the United States leadership is weak. They believe we're politically dysfunctional and that they can take advantage of our vulnerabilities. It's not isolated that there's war in Ukraine, that Russia invaded Ukraine, that Iran has operationalized all of its proxies to drive the United States out of the Middle East and also to destroy the state of Israel. And President Xi is threatening war in the Indo-Pacific region to take Taiwan by force if they don't willingly capitulate. All of that has dramatically changed in the last 4 years, and the Trump administration is going to have to deal with that as their number one geopolitical issue in terms of national security threats to the United States. They have to restore deterrence, and that has to start with military capability, certainly. And you mentioned it. The last 4 years, the budgets have been flat. No increase. China is outpacing us. You name the platform, and they outpace us in it dramatically, except for submarines. The Air Force and the Army are too small. The Navy doesn't have enough ships. The defense industrial base needs to be replenished. It takes money to do it. When we play war games, publicly recorded, we run out of offensive missiles in a war game against China in 2 weeks. I mean, that's the reality of the erosion of the military capability that has taken place in this country. We have to fix the Pentagon's ossified business practices. It's risk averse. It's too slow to get a platform. It takes years. You look at the commercial sector and how quickly they can turn a platform. It's remarkable compared to the 3 or 4 times it takes to the Pentagon to get a system. And the other thing is, it's too costly. And we've got to bring in modern commercial business practices into the Pentagon with innovation and certainly technology. Those are some of the things that have got to be done. The top of mind issue really is the increased threat from those 4 countries and how aggressive they are.
Also, on another note, cancel those social and cultural programs at the DoD. It's just hurting spirit and they're counterproductive, right?
Oh, yeah. Listen, the DEI program, I mean, well-intentioned, but the United States military is the most racially integrated institution in the United States of America. That's been written about it in multiple books. It is a meritocracy. It doesn't tolerate white supremacism. This has been a false issue from the outset, and it's frankly very disturbing, to our members inside the military in doing that. And I think the Trump administration will likely take issue with paying for transgender members to physically transition and using taxpayers' dollars to do that, and taxpayers' dollars to have its members get an abortion out of state because it's prohibited in the state they're assigned. It's not the issue of transgender. It's not the issue of an abortion. It's using taxpayers' dollars to facilitate something like that. I think they'll probably take issue with it.
I think you're right. It's going to be a lot to do. With the right secretary, they can start reforming and get the most of the dollars in the Pentagon and start establishing deterrence. Just by saying you're going to spend, that'll start the process. General, we'll talk a lot more about this. You can always keep up with the wars with the Institute Study of War. You find out the latest. Thanks so much, General. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, guys. Good weekend for you and the team. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be an exciting show. Saturday at 9 o'clock, One Nation. Amongst my roster of guests will be Senator Joe Manchin. The party he just left, what is left of it, he's going to talk about it. Senator Tom Cotton, why did he pull himself out of the running, maybe for Secretary of Defense? Douglas Murray, fresh off his visit to Tel Aviv, is back here to put in perspective what it was like at Mar-a-Lago when President Trump won. Robert Davi, on what does it help to be a celebrity? If you're going to endorse a candidate, do you pay the price? Did he pay a price for supporting Trump? We'll discuss all that, and Tommy Lahren as well. That'll be Saturday at 9 o'clock. Straight ahead on this show, the Fox and Friends Weekend crew joins us next to discuss the mainstream media reaction to Trump's victory. They were going to supply headshots. We said, what if we got you live? And they agreed to it. We are so lucky.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the Ozempic Trizone. I got the power of 3. I lowered my A1C, CV risk, and lost some weight.
In studies, the majority of people reached an A1C under 7 and maintained it.
Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to talk about the weather, but first we're going to say hi to my friends. How are you? Where are you from? What are your names?
Christy, and I'm from Mandeville, Louisiana.
Denise from Mandeville, Louisiana.
And a girls' trip?
Yes, indeed.
You're behaving yourself?
Oh, a little.
No, you're not.
Little.
Okay, what's your
Alicia. Alicia from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Very nice.
Maddie from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Ella from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Amy from Spartanburg.
Jesse from Spartanburg.
Very nice.
Abby from Spartanburg.
I love it.
Brendan Moran, Houston, Texas.
Wonderful. And a birthday right here. Who's the birthday girl?
Yay! Congratulations. I know you ladies are behaving yourselves. I just didn't want you to think that I was saying that because you weren't. All right, let's take a look at the maps real quick. Across the country, you're in New York. You're allowed to, not behave sometimes. 70 degrees here in New York. We do have the potential for showers and thunderstorms across the central U.S. and a blizzard for parts of the Colorado Rockies. Also watching Rafael in the Gulf of Mexico, but it's going to weaken and not going to affect anyone. Do you love Fox and Friends? Yeah. Yay. Do you love Lawrence? Yes. Let's send it back to Lawrence.
Hi, Lawrence. It's a South takeover. You got Texas, Louisiana, and
Everybody
South
is
Carolina.
here.
That's what I'm talking about.
I love it.
All right, thanks, JD.
Mwah.
So the ladies of The View still trying to unpack Donald Trump's historic win with this bizarre explanation. Watch.
I do think that in this post-mortem that needs to happen with Democrats, they need to think about why wasn't she given more lead time? Why didn't Biden give her 6 months or a year to run?
What about a post-mortem on the Republican Party? Which is the
I was
Trump
just
party
about
right
to
now?
say just swept, though. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep.
So
they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
But while Sonny Hostin blamed Latino misogyny, some critics blame Hostin herself for asking Kamala Harris this question last month.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I can't get enough of this. Let's bring in Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth, Rachel Campos, definitely will. Look, guys, I'm sorry. I'm still on my Joy Fest right now. What do you think, Rachel Campos, Duffy, about Sonny Hostin's viewpoint? It's the misogyny.
Yeah, it's the misogyny, not the border. It's the patriarchy, not the price of eggs. It's transphobia, not girls, having men in sports. It's racism, not endless wars. I mean, this is what they do, right? Look, anybody who actually knows Latinos was not surprised, real Latinos is not surprised by what happened on Tuesday. But Sonny, even though she's Latina, she's in a bubble. She's in a Manhattan, wealthy, elite bubble. She's not coming in contact with regular Hispanic Americans. I'm going to give you 3 numbers that I think explain everything from this last election. And they're about Kamala Harris. We hear a lot about how Kamala, didn't outperform Biden, but she did in a couple categories. People making over $100,000. She beat Joe Biden. He won by 5 points. She won by 8. Post-grads, she won them by 24 points. But get this number. She won people who say they have no religion by 40 points. She's her and her campaign, totally out of step with hardworking, working class, faith-filled Hispanics. That says it all. Suffice it to say, guys, How Great Thou Art was never sung in the Kamala campaign headquarters.
So later on in the show, when Alicia Farrer is going back at it with Sonny Hostin, she says, have you talked about the Trump people? And she says, we won. Well, the Republicans won. So I don't think they understand how this works. When you lose, there needs to be self-evaluation. You don't get to ask the winners to self-evaluate while they're celebrating.
Right. And she's talking about...
That's a good point.
Should there be a post-mortem? So what about Republicans do a post-mortem? Well, if you cut open Republicans, guess what you see? If you cut open the Republican Party right now and do an autopsy, guess what you see? W's. Just pouring out. W's for the Senate, the House, and the presidential level. Lawrence, I want to come on. I think I did this yesterday with Barney and just say, Sonny is just an obvious racist. Like, everything about her is about shallow, skin color. But I don't want to do that anymore because you know what I think? I think it's obvious to everybody watching. And Sonny Hostin has turned herself into this... how we have the old man standing on the front porch yelling at the cloud thing? Like, what is that for females? I don't know, Rachel. Like, she's face frozen, no eye contact, condescendingly looking down her nose, telling everybody that they're beneath her. And I don't know what you call that female version of it, but I cannot believe that executives at Disney go, write 7 figures for that one. We need to keep that on the air.
Well, that is a good point, Pete, because how did these people, the Never Trumpers, all of these, how did they have jobs? Their analysis was so off. Talk about a complete rejection.
Well, because even the bubble needs a quasi foil, right? So within the bubble, you hire someone who actually hates the base of the Republican Party to say that they're a Republican, to get along with all the Democrats who hate all those Republicans and call them names and say, as Rachel said, they're just misogynist patriarchs. So it's a get along to go along, because you know this: ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, they're all Democrats from the producers on up to the folks on air. They hate what happened on Tuesday night. And Sunny Hassan did what most will do if they want to put their head in the sand. They'll say, it's their problem. It's the voters' problem. It's not mine. Well, their brains are broken. They've been broken since 2016. Now they're just in a puddle, and ultimately there's no postmortem they're capable of at this point, which means they'll continue to run up against the wall of the American people who simply want the basics. They want safety. They want sovereignty. They want more of their own money.
Go ahead, Rachel.
And the problem for them is this is a generational problem for them at this point. Once you get a Hispanic, like my father did in 1980, came from a Democrat copper mining, Democrat family. He voted for Ronald Reagan, and from that point on, he was like, wait a minute. He became a swing voter, and he was like, wait a minute, my values are with this party, and he never went back to the Democrat Party. His kids, his grandkids, all voting conservative. So the problem for the Democrat Party is a whole lot of Democrat Latinos voted for Donald Trump, and now they're conservative curious, they're Republican curious from this point on, and that's going to be a challenge for them electorally. They won't have them lockstep as they had them before.
It was a complete rejection. Well, I'm going to be watching y'all this weekend, and as the now President-elect said, it's great chemistry. It's great chemistry between you three. I watch every weekend.
He did say that.
And he did say that. It is true. It's true. I'll be watching y'all tomorrow morning. See y'all.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Lawrence.
All right. So how will the Trump big win affect the sentencing here in New York? We'll discuss with Shannon Bream next.
Historic victory is impacting the future of his legal cases, including his New York sentencing. Judge Merchan is expected to issue a decision early next week on whether or not to overturn the convictions and decide if Trump gets a new constitutional protection as president-elect. Joining us now, Fox News Sunday anchor and Fox News chief legal correspondent, Shannon Bream. Hey, Shannon.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. This is so interesting. He wanted this case so badly. He wanted conviction. And now he has to decide. The pressure's on him now. Should he overturn this? And he has to decide by Tuesday. What do you think he will do?
Well, listen, Ainsley, in covering the trial there in New York and watching Judge Merchan did not often rule in favor of the Trump legal team or of the president, now president-elect. So we're all watching and waiting to see what he does with that Supreme Court immunity decision and applying it to this case in New York where there are already these 34 convictions. Does he throw out part of it? Does he say there's you got to re-examine the evidence? Or does he get rid of it altogether? We just don't know what's going to happen. But if he keeps that case intact, remember, he's also set November 26th as a sentencing date for the president-elect. All of this is uncharted territory because you've got somebody who is now going to be the next president of the United States facing very real criminal issues, and we just have to wait and see what this judge does.
Well, if he does decide to continue on, and then we reach that deadline of the sentencing on November 26th, and he does sentence the president, what happens then?
Well, it would be highly unlikely, regardless of any of the other circumstances and facts, that he would actually sentence him to jail. President Trump's a first-time offender. He would be deemed a, quote, elderly offender. So it's unlikely that would happen. But there are other things that could happen, like probation or fines. And even that would be interesting to see if that's where he decides to go. But all of this could spend years tied up in an appeal situation. And I would imagine if there is a sentence, if the case moves forward, that's going to take a long time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, there's a story in Newsweek. This is the headline. Justice Sonia Sotomayor faces renewed calls to retire after a Trump win. She's only 70 years old. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she decided not to do this. They tried to push her out. She was 87 years old when she passed away. But Sonia Sotomayor is 70. She's young, but they're saying, let's do this, do it during lame duck so that we can replace her with a younger Democrat.
Yeah, and Ainsley, there are all kinds of potential risks with this. First of all, Justice Sotomayor has not signaled that she wants to go anywhere. I've seen her, recently in arguments. She seems completely engaged and up to her normal self for this job. And you know how this works. Sometimes the public pressure, as it did with Justice Ginsburg, has the opposite reaction. People dig in and don't want to go anywhere. It's very tight in the Senate. You could lose, depending on who President Biden would nominate. If you could convince Justice Sotomayor to retire, you could lose a Joe Manchin, Elisa Murkowski, Susan Collins. I mean, this is so tight. I don't know if Democrats really want to take that risk. And she seems like she would be, health and intellectually, she would be fully equipped to go another 4 years. I think she probably digs in.
Yeah, I would think so. This article says no senator seems to be offering to be the person to put his or her neck on the line publicly. They don't want to be the one because Joe Biden is the one who recommended Kamala Harris, and we see how that worked out.
Yeah, it's just such an uncharted territory because, listen, it was very close when we lost Justice Ginsburg and the then nomination and confirmation battle over Justice Amy Coney Barrett. So, there will be those, if they decide to back this plan, to say, we've done this on this expedited schedule before, but the Senate is so tight, it's no guarantee that whoever the president picks, he'd actually be able to get across the finish line. Do you want President Trump to start a new term if you're a Democrat with an open seat on the Supreme Court? Very dangerous for them.
She's probably going to dig in. She's only 70 years old. Donald Trump will be in office for 4 years. All right. Thank you so much. Catch Shannon this weekend on Sunday, Fox News. Thank you. Good to see you too. Have a great weekend. All right, let's hand it over to Carly. Hey, Carly.
Hello. Hey, Ainsley. Yeah, listen to this. San Francisco Mayor London Breed losing her re-election bid to the more moderate Democrat, whose name is Daniel Lurie. Lurie is the heir to Levi Strauss, and he won this race despite having no prior political experience. Breed conceded last night.
Being mayor of this city has been the absolute honor of my life. I am really grateful and excited about what is happening in this city. It's starting to look good and feel good, and the city is on the rise.
During Breed's time in office, San Francisco has seen a mass exodus of major retailers as well as a significant increase in crime. Stocks soaring to new record highs on Thursday after the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by a quarter point. This is the second rate cut this year, and Fed Chair Jerome Powell says he's not going anywhere, even if President-elect Trump calls for a new leadership.
Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Trump nominated Powell to his post back in 2017. Those are your headlines. Ainsley, back over to you.
He's a man of many words. All right, thank you, Carly. Don't go anywhere. We have more Fox and Friends coming up.